My hot take on Fast Car is that a friend of mine once made the observation that like it says a lot about American society that Mac the Knife became a jazz standard, but not Pirate Jenny, because like they're from the same play, the same Bertolt Brecht play. But, like Mac the Knife's about like this like sociopath, like basically Patrick Bateman's serial killer, and like Pirate Jenny's about like this like bar wench who like these pirates come and help her kill like the bourgeoisie, and like it's like a service worker rising up kind of thing. And I feel that way about Fast Car. As much as I mean, this is not to denigrate that song because I love it, but like the Fast Car is just like the shittiness of life as it exists. And then like that's like the tops. That was like her hit single. That was Tracy Chapman's hit single in the U.S. Yep. And then her hit single in Europe off the same LP was Revolution.
Actually,
America's just like, yeah, shit sucks.
Yeah.
My hot take. Do you know what I think the best song to cry in the car is?
What?
And welcome to another episode of the Zoomy Kathys. We're here with Nevin. Say hey, Nevin.
Hey.
What's your first Adult Swim experience? When were you first aware of it?
Okay, are we talking about official Adult Swim, or are we just going back? Are we going back to the prehistory of Adult Swim?
I don't know.
What was your first interaction with it?
Yeah, what was your first interaction?
So I will say on record, I watched the first Adult Swim ever.
Like the first broadcast live?
Okay, boomer.
When I was 11, I'm a fucking boomer, and I watched the first Adult Swim on fucking on Cartoon Network. But my first memory of it is like when I was like 5. My dad was like kind of a irresponsible media parent, which I'm very grateful for. He showed me like Mad Max when I was 5. He was like, yeah, there's this cartoon called Space Ghost Coast to Coast. It's like, you love Cartoon Network, you watch Cartoon Network all the time. There's this cartoon on Space Ghost Coast to Coast that airs at midnight, and it's only for adults, so kids aren't allowed to watch it. And then of course that was just like him telling me to watch it. And then like later, as I got like a little older, Gundam Wing was on Toonami, and like my friends have this like urban legend that like, yeah, they play like the regular like edited TVY version of Gundam Wing like during Toonami, but if you stay up late, you can watch the adult version, and there's hentai in it, which of course there isn't, obviously. And also like there was like they played like those, they had the show called Oh Canada, and they played like those like CBC like experimental artsy shorts. A lot of them like won a bunch of Oscars for like best animated short film.
Yeah.
But they like played those. Yeah.
Well, they also had like
I hated them when I was a kid.
They had like the Tex Avery show and Toonheads too, where they just play like all of the like sexualized and racist episodes of like Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yeah, they like had like all the racist, and they had a good disclaimer about it, but like it was like, yeah, here are like the racist like World War II era like anti-Japanese cartoons we're playing at 1 a.m.
Or here's anything with Speedy Gonzales in it.
Yeah, although it was the 90s, so Speedy Gonzales was playing all the time anyway, like that. But like like the like weird like super racist like Snow Black and D7 door, like that kind of shit, like that shit. And like the like Bugs Bunny Bugs Bunny ethnic slur redacted like that. It was interesting. It was like a weird mix of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, uncut anime, experimental Canadian films from the 70s, and racist Looney Tunes. Like that was the unofficial Adult Swim. Like,
all right, Madeline, what about you? What was your first time that Adult Swim came into your purview?
So I always knew about, I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but I always knew about Adult Swim. I had a TV in my room. I was too much of a goody two-shoes, and even though I wanted to watch Inuyasha so bad, I would turn off the TV when Adult Swim came on. Eventually, my dad, like, in our old house, built himself a man cave, if you will.
Hey, you're not allowed to be in there. You better not have gone in there. That's for the boys to bro out, Maddie.
I'm just saying that the summer before I went to college, my dad and I were driving in the car, and honestly, like, this is, like, it might sound backhanded, but I take it very wholesomely. My dad looked at me, and he went, you know what, Madeline? Besides you being born a boy, you turned out the best I could have ever possibly have hoped for. And you know what? Out of a dude who had 2 girls being the third and like neither one of his children were the fourth, I'll take it. You know, like whatever, I gotcha. But I'm in the man cave finally, and that's when I was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna watch Adult Swim. I'm gonna do it, guys. And the only things I can remember are Squidbillies. Was the first thing I remember watching. And then there was this short that was really weird where like Boo Boo, I think it was, from Yogi Bear, he goes like feral and like, then shoots Yogi.
Yeah. No, I've seen that. That's the one. The guy from Ren and Stimpy made that. John K.
So I remember watching that, and I was like, okay, that's a little weird for me, being like 10, 11 years old. I'm gonna go to bed.
Well, John K. had no business making children's cartoons, but that's another subject.
Yeah, no, we don't need to get into John K. for sure. But I will say, Boo Boo Runs Wild is an incredible piece of cinema. I'm gonna post it in our Discord for anyone who wants to watch it later for reference.
I'm really excited to rewatch it. I'm really excited to rewatch it because I love weird, odd, like childhood ruining media. I'm like so into it. It was so much then. But my dad also introduced me to Wallace and Gromit, so I got really into claymation when I was younger. And then that led me to see Robot Chicken, and the first bitch pudding sketch I ever saw in my life, but changed my life.
Blam.
I thought the timing of those sketches was so good because it had no regard for it being claymation. Where like everyone would be silent after she came in, and then like someone starts to speak, and she would just kick the door down and be like, dun, 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 and I'm like, okay.
Robot Chicken has a weird history. I mean, that I personally like, because there used to be this magazine called Toy Fair Magazine. This was like, I was a very nerdy kid, and it was like a magazine for like adult men, Gen X man children who collected action figures, and it actually had like the back of it was just like kind of like a stock portfolio of like collectible action figures and like how like up or down like were the prices, like mint in condition or taken out of the box. And it was like a very nerdy thing, but like the reason I had a subscription to it as a kid, it was like the guys who made Robot Chicken had these like comics in it that were like, it was called Twisted Mego Theater, and it was like they would like take their action figures and they would like photograph them, and that would be those would be the panels of the comics. And it was just it was like Robot Chicken, basically. It was like really fucked up. I should not have been reading this shit as a kid, because it was like like Robot Chicken but without any like standards and practices, like
which is crazy because Robot Chicken, like literally every skit's just like, all right, we're gonna have all your characters and then you're gonna watch them all die in like horrible ways.
Those were the comics. It was just like all these beloved children's characters brutally murdering each other and like having sex, and like that was like, because it was for like weird Gen X guys who like collected action figures, and like somehow I was a kid and had like was reading this shit.
The weird dudes who've like always fantasized about Velma, but finally they have some media to reflect it. This was pre-DeviantArt days, by the way, so you know, do with that what you will.
Gen X action figure collectors walked so that DeviantArt millennials could run.
I think I kind of like, actually no, I super vividly remember this because I had like a shitty box TV that was sitting on the ledge of a beautiful bay window that should not have been in a fucking fourth grader's bedroom, but there I was with my own TV in my room. I don't know, I just remember like it came on and I had like this stupid black light instead of a normal light overhead because I thought I was the coolest fucking fourth grader.
Man, I wish we would have been friends. I really do. You would have made my life better.
Lame. I was so lame, and I never had any fucking adult supervision.
Yeah,
I wrote fan fiction. I had too much adult supervision. We would have been perfect for each other.
Adult Swim was our adult supervision, for better or for worse. Like this, like.
Oh God, no! I wish it wasn't, because I remember just being filled with this like overwhelming sense of guilt that I was watching it.
Right.
Like, I felt like I was doing something so fucking naughty and wrong the entire time I was watching it. Like, I would legitimately have it turned down to like volume 1 and be like an inch away from the screen with my fucking black light turned off as if it actually illuminated my room whatsoever fucking ever. And like, if I even
what is this, Watamote?
Pretty fucking much, dude. And like, if I heard anything move in the house, I would just instantly turn it off and jump into my bed and pretend I was asleep.
Dude, same.
That would make them boo-hoo too much.
Do you remember old remotes?
I think the first thing I saw was Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law.
Yes.
Harvey Birdman, attorney at law.
I was gonna say, do you guys remember the old cable remotes used to have a thing where if you you could like immediately jump to the previous channel without
Yes.
I would have that on stock. I would make sure like an appropriate and plausible show was always on the quote-unquote previous channel, just so I could flip back to it immediately if a parent figure came down.
Bitch, I was so smart. I would literally have it on TV static on my previous, like a channel with nothing on it, and I would pretend I fell asleep in front of the TV.
Oh, that's so much better.
Are you a ghost child? Okay, hold on. Sorry. If my kid regularly fell asleep in front of TV static, I would be like, what haunting is happening right now? Because like, is it like static after a certain hour? Like, what's going on? Like, static is like the scariest thing.
Right. You're just like the dad from Donnie Darko falling asleep, drunken, going like, "Oh, Dukakis."
So many young children were watching adults, like sneaking Adult Swim, and their parents thought their houses were haunted. Like,
yeah, sorry, I might have started something.
My mom was like, I'm very privileged, lowercase privileged, like my mom was actually also a fan of. I got her into it. Her favorite show was Big O for some reason. I don't know why. Like, my mom just loved Big O. But I do remember one time, like, my mom and I were staying with a friend of hers who was more normie. And I was like, I got to watch Adult Swim. And it was like, before, it was like after when they had the old people swimming, but before they did the title cards, which is really when they came into their own. It was like when they're that in between where they had that weird, like, lifeguard instructions with their characters. And there was like this music that was like it sounded like a fucking porno soundtrack. So it was like, yeah, I want to watch Adult Swim. And like I turned it on, and my mom's friend, I was like, just straight up thought I was watching porn. Like, I was like, and I was like, Futurama. I was watching Futurama. I was like, yeah, it's just like Futurama. It's like Matt Groening. It's The Simpsons. She was just scowling at me.
She's like she's like Milhouse's mom of The Simpsons, just like shooing you out of the house.
Yeah.
I always thought that was so funny though. Like, just kind of like on a broader scale, because I consumed, like, I wasn't super into like violent stuff, but I never remember there being an issue if I were to consume something violent. It was only when media was sexual that my parents were like, oh no.
Violence. This violence can warp your mind all you want, but like sexuality, that's it.
My mom was different, so I was always allowed to watch all of the quote unquote perverted dumb shows that like parents of my age group of like 1995 kids had to deal with, like, like Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy and SpongeBob and all those things. But I was never allowed to watch like shit like Power Rangers and Pokemon. And like I grew up Mennonite and shit. And so I always thought that my parents just were like, oh, well, it makes sense because they're religious and stuff. And like, that's why you don't let me watch that stuff. And then later, like as an adult, like 2 years ago, I talked to my mom and I was like, yeah, it was like weird that you let me watch like Ren and Stimpy and Fairly Odd Parents, but didn't let me watch Pokemon just for the violence. And she like looked at me and she was like, oh, it wasn't because of the violence. It was because I didn't want to, like, you got really obsessed with shit as a kid, and I didn't want to have to like show up at Barnes & Noble at 10 a.m. every Saturday while you traded cards with a bunch of like adults and shit.
I'm so grateful for my childhood Pokemon obsession. I feel like that taught me so many life skills. Like
my mom was not about it. She was not about to sacrifice Pokemon every Saturday morning just so I could like talk to some 40-year-old dude who hangs out at Books A Million and like waste all of my money on it.
Well, I didn't get into Pokemon until like after the craze went through its initial. So like the craze happened and then it died out until like very recently, as I'm sure y'all know. And I got into it like probably a year after the craze really hit, because my cousin showed me Pokemon Blue for the first time, and I went, oh, cool, video game. So then I was, like, way into Pokemon for the rest of my life, but, like, I'm kind of upset that I got into it just slightly too late to be cool about it for that little gem of time.
I was obsessed with, like, the Pokemon Game Boy game when it came out, but, like...
Yeah.
For some reason, Pokemon...
I didn't watch the show.
For some reason, Pokemon, like, what on my, like, I think it was, like, playing on the WB, and there was some weird thing where, like, my mom...
Four kids.
Like, yeah, like, for some reason, like my mom was like constantly not paying the cable bill, but like also like we had like the shittiest basic cable package that didn't have WB, and like so like I got really into Digimon, and that was like my Saturday morning ritual was watching Digimon, which like the Digimon dub has an interesting thing because they like localized it in a weird way. The Japanese Digimon is really weird and perverted, but like the localization did a lot of interesting stuff with that. But like I never got into the card game. Like I thought it was just like a weird like Magic the Gathering ripoff. But my friend did. He went to one of those Barnes and Noble things, and like it was like a special event because the Pokemon movie was coming out. It was like you get a special holographic Mew. It's very rare if you come to this like Pokemon card game event at Barnes and Noble. And then like he stuck around after all the fucking like the shit was over, and like the probably disgruntled minimum wage Gen X slacker Barnes and Noble worker was just like, "Hey kid, you want these Mews?" And it was like 3 fucking boxes of holographic Mews. So my friend just took them all. Just like, yeah, it was like total artificial scarcity. Like my friend just took them all, hoarded them in his room, and would like sell them to like, he was like probably like 6th grade, and like sell them to like 4th graders. Like, this is a really rare Mew. Like I'll give it to you for like $10 plus your Charizard. And like, but he actually had like 800.
That's brilliant. What a genius. That's incredible.
Yeah.
In contrast, my dad one time had a stern talk with one of the Barnes & Noble employees because they were playing Harry Potter, and he didn't want me exposed to it. So that's my upbringing.
I was way too into Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, fully went to the fucking tournament to admit out loud that I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively.
Did you watch that shitty movie in theaters?
I'm just gonna go full stop on the embarrassment here, and we're gonna go full what the fuck, Colette, why would you ever do that to yourself? I was at a tournament, and I was full stop winning. Like, nothing was going to stop me. I had raging diarrhea from eating 3 packs of Now and Laters at once. And instead of just like excusing myself,
and now it's later.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much. It was like now it's coming back out. You stupid bitch! Why did you eat 3 packs of them?
Oh no.
Instead of doing the sensible thing and excusing myself and being like, "Oh, pardon me, I need to powder my nose," I shit myself. I fucking shit myself at the card game table.
Hell yeah.
And it was bad, and it stunk, and I awkwardly got up with my goose egg in my pants and waddled my way into the bathroom. And when I got in there, I panicked so fucking hard because I didn't know what to do that I took everything on the lower half of my body off and tried to wash it in the sink, and it didn't work because it was fucking everywhere. And then it was all over the floor, and it was just fucking everywhere. So I like shook my pants out to get it all out, and it flung it all over the floor. And I threw my shit back on and fucking ran out of there. And I called my mom frantically from a fucking... There used to be these bookstores called Bookman's on the East Coast. I fucking ran to Bookman's. Shout out to that venue that I'm still not going to name near Lorton, Virginia. I'm so sorry about your bathroom. And called my mom and asked her to pick me up. And when I told her what happened, she just looked at me blankly and asked me what the fuck was wrong with me. And I think that's about when she stopped loving me.
Oh man.
I like that. Okay. So that story is like simultaneously like why I love and hate The Office at the same time, because it's very funny, but there are some times where I'm like, oh, I can't even laugh. Like that just hurts my feelings for someone else. Yeah. Like that is a hilarious story, and I don't want to take away from that, but I'm not giggling because I'm just like, oh god.
Oh, see, I live for cringe comedy. Cringe comedy is the most human expression. It's the most human artistic expression.
And I love it, but there's a very like rare occasion where I'm just like, oh, I can't even laugh. I can't turn away, and I will not turn away. Yeah. But I also can't laugh.
There's like that deep, almost empathetic experience that you have. Some people have. I think some people are just desensitized to it. But like, if you're like a kind of socially awkward, anxious person, when you're watching that, you're like feeling it deeply.
It's like the opposite of Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude, however you say it. It's the exact opposite of that.
It's like secondhand embarrassment, but compounded by social anxiety.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like, kind of why I can't finish BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
Oh, I still have to finish. Look, I'm not, look, I think I said this last time. I'm still not at the depressed state where I can finish BoJack yet.
Same, dude.
I'm getting there.
I don't think anyone should be watching BoJack Horseman right now.
Like, yeah, it's kind of the worst time to watch BoJack, honestly.
Oh, perfect. That means it's the best time. Excellent. Yeah. So excited to binge the last season of BoJack.
So I am not trying to neck myself in the bathroom after watching a fucking Netflix cartoon. I'm going to wait in a better
position. Oh, no, I'm here for it. That's so indie. I'm here for it. Y'all gonna write a book? Like,
oh man, go. I'm trying to watch the new season of Paradise PD, which I saw in the trailer has a crossover episode with Brickleberry. It's not that good. Oh, it looks horrible. I hate those shows, but it crosses over with Brickleberry, and that sounds like hell. So I'm in.
Wait, there's like a shitty. There's a cinematic universe.
Yeah. There's like a scene at the end of the Paradise PD where the Brickleberry crew are all in the room together with them, and then Daniel Tosh is like, "Well, this looks like the most unnecessary crossover ever," and I was like,
"Why do we keep?"
You're right.
Why do we keep talking about this?
Oh, I want Paradise PD to be in every episode.
No, guys, this actually presents us with a really good opportunity if we're going to do the whole Netflix like cinematic universe. Just put those two shows in Castlevania from Netflix because they're in hell. They're in hell. And that's what it is. They're just their own level of hell.
That
and
makes
it's fine.
Sense.
And because Dracula is also in hell and he'll just murder all of them because he just wants to hang out with his wife.
Yeah, in hell, whenever you watch Netflix, it's just Brickleberry and whatever the fuck that other show is called. Like, that's all it is. It's just like hundreds of different...
Netflix hell is being able to watch like a few minutes of the first episode of a Castlevania. Of the first Castlevania episode, and then you get immediately sent to Brickleberry.
No, hell is just a fully functioning normal Netflix, but everything except for Brickleberry just buffers every like 20 seconds.
What the fuck?
That's hell. That's hell. All the good shows are right there at your fingertips, but you have to watch them in like 2040 quality with like buffering every interval.
Oh, wait. Even better, hell is that exact scenario, except you're sitting next to someone where it's like your second date and you weren't sure how it was going to go after the first one, and like you're kind of into it, but kind of not, and they're like looking at their phone the whole time. Like, that's what hell is.
Hell is actually showing somebody a piece of media that you deeply emotionally connected with, and they're not laughing at the right times, and they're also on their phone the entire time. To piggyback off of what you just said.
I totally disagree with you all.
Multiple times.
I totally disagree with you all. Hell is the scenario we just laid out, except the date is like watching Brickleberry and laughing and like slapping you on the shoulder and elbowing you every time you don't laugh as hard as they are laughing at Brickleberry.
Okay, hold on. Actually, that brings up. Okay, can I tell this quick story aside? It's very relevant. Okay, so firstly, I don't know how y'all feel about the movie Ted.
It's like okay.
Teddy bear.
It would be like better if it was a half an hour instead of like 2 hours.
Here's the thing. I chuckled. I watched Ted, and all I could hear in my own like head was Seth MacFarlane being like, "Hey, that's funny, right? That joke, that's funny, right? You know what? This would also like. It's just like I get why people like it. I just wasn't into it. Whatever."
Yeah.
So I went on a date with this guy to see Ted in theaters, and this dude was like, I thought he was so hot. He's a really good looking dude. We're actually friends now. If he ever listens to this, that would be unfortunate. But so we're watching Ted, and he thinks it's hilarious, and I'm just there like super not feeling it. But it was, I swear, for a split second in time, I was like, am I Elaine? I think I'm Elaine. I'm pretty sure I'm Elaine. Because I heard him out of the corner of my head going, "Nyah, nyah, 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 nyah," and I'm like, I'm Elaine. This is a Seinfeld episode where I went on a date with a dude with a goofy laugh, and hated the movie also, and I hate this, and like that feels like hell. Honestly, that feels like that Netflix hell.
You just burst into Jerry's apartment and you're like, he took me to Ted. He took you to Ted?
No, I have never felt more like Elaine in my life. And look, I am like the one female girl, and Colette knows my crew. Yeah. Caleb kind of knows my crew, but Colette definitely knows my crew.
I definitely know your crew.
Right, exactly. Like, I'm like the girl, not like in a weird way where they're like, oh, we have this girl. It's just like, yeah, she's just our friend. Like, whatever.
No, that's what Ashwa was trying to be.
Yeah, we don't talk about that anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry, is that tea still too hot? I'm sorry, what?
That tea has been spilled.
He's a Ted chuckler.
Also still hot. He's a Ted chuckler. So I'm
He's
like,
a Ted chuckler. Oh, what's the deal with the Ted chuckler? You never chuckle doing Ted.
And I'm just like, where are like the people I can tell about this fucking experience? Because like I wanted to get laid with this dude, but after the whole Ted thing, I was just like, God, it's just you're attractive, but I can't get there.
And you chuckle through Ted, you don't get head. Everyone knows that. You can't chuckle through Ted and get head.
I just the last joke. It was I remember this was what sold it. It was the last joke in the first Ted movie where like Mila Kunis puts Ted back together, like makes a wish, and Ted like pretends to have a disorder for a second for the first time that he's put back together because he's like, I don't know, they put my head back, and I'm like, that's in bad taste. And next to me, I hear, nyah, 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 nyah. I'm like, oh my God. There's not enough condoms in the world to make me feel safe enough to have sex with this man.
Wait.
Could you imagine getting pregnant by that? And then being socially pressured into marrying that, and then like raising children with that.
I first of all, I wouldn't. My mom is very progressive. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
Yo, I gotta say,
my boyfriend has a kid from a previous relationship. He and I had that talk very early on. I'm like, look, if I get pregnant, he's like, oh yeah, no, that's whatever you want to do. Like, I'm okay not having another kid. And I'm like, type. And that's why we're dating.
Okay, offline, I want to talk about that because if you ever decide to eat us that fetus, I want to come with just so I can say that. Like, that's the only reason. I'm not going to be there to be emotionally supportive. I literally just want to be able to say, fetus, that, fetus!
What are the social...
I was going to say,
I've rules about taking your friend to an abortion clinic. Like, what is that? Like,
no, okay, here are the rules. If you're going to say eat us that fetus, you need to bring a big Wheel of Fortune style wheel where they can spin it and every single different section says eat us that fetus.
Can there be the one slim section that says keep it, though? Just to have
that section says bankrupt. It still says bankrupt because it's the same thing.
Yeah, whenever
it's like still black and like with like white text, but instead of bankrupt, it just says don't eat us that fetus.
Whenever a fetus is actually kept, it just goes.
Can I just start this game show? Can I just start a very cruel abortion game show? Is that important?
Fetus, that fetus!
I mean, I'm pretty sure Vice is still around, so like you could start that game show whenever you wanted. Vice will pick it up immediately.
Oh my God, you're right. Vice picks anything up. They gave Trixie.
Yeah. They'll be like, "This is journalism." Like honestly, if I wrote an article where I was like, I took a 2-hour dump, Vice would be like, this is hard-hitting news. Like, we gotta fucking get this.
I mean, in all fairness, I would read that article. Like, if I saw that pop in my newsfeed, I would read the shit out of that article.
I think BuzzFeed content writers and social media managers are going to become like the new, like in the social distancing economy, they're becoming like the new blue-collar workforce.
Back when I was your age, I had to write 8 articles about how your sourdough bread.
So I want to hear what everyone's everyone's top 2 like favorite Adult Swim cartoons are.
Absolute favorite is the Boondocks. Aaron McGruder. Like I once read an interview with him where he said that like his 2 main influences were Cowboy Bebop and Fooly Cooley, and I feel like he was like
Fooly Cooley.
Yeah, he was like someone who tried to take that level of like like not to be pretentious about it, but like that level of animation and apply it to like American animation like that. And plus it just had that, like, I remember like the first commercial I saw for it, sitting on my stepmom's couch in the middle of the night watching Adult Swim, like in my boxers, and I was just like pissed off about the Iraq War. And like this commercial came on, and it was Huey, there was like this kid, and he like the commercial is just like, Jesus is black, Ronald Reagan is the devil, and the government's lying about 9/11. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I liked Adult Swim. I never realized like Adult Swim would be like fucking just like shoving this like the most unironic usage of the word woke, like just blowing my mind, being like, yes, this. But I think my favorite, like closest to my heart favorite Adult Swim show is Home Movies. I was like tripping on shrooms.
Yeah.
Wait, Devin, I was gonna say, I never got to say it, but my first understanding of what Adult Swim was one time I turned it on Cartoon Network not realizing it was going to be an adult show, and I saw the commercial for the R. Kelly episode of the Boondocks, and I was like, "What the fuck?" It was like a clip of Riley. It was a clip of Riley doing the whole speech where he's like, "Yeah, check it out. Someone's pissing on you. What do? Do you let them piss on you, or do you move out of the way?" And I just remember being like, "What is this show where people are talking about peeing on each other? I don't even understand this."
Yeah. I mean, Aaron McGruder was like 20 years ahead of the curve with like cancel R. Kelly. Like he was 20 years ago. He should totally get that recognition.
But yeah, whole movie is lit. The opening monologue where John Benjamin talks about getting both the Chiquita banana and the Baybel cow tattooed on him while he's drunk is one of my favorite moments of improv ever.
Oh man, that show, like I was like tripping on shrooms and I was watching it like tripping on shrooms and like it's like a couple weeks ago.
Grade.
Yeah, in third grade. No, like a couple weeks ago. I just like the like relationship that Brendan and Coach McGurk have, because like on the one hand, like, you know, there's already been like Bart and Principal Skinner, and like lazier writers would have been like, yeah, like just have like Coach McGurk be like the gruff authoritarian, like their enemies, like their rivals, like, you know, like they didn't do that, and they didn't do like it's like not PC in the best way, where it's like, it's not like don't worry, I love Steven Universe, and I love like 2017 I was all about like doing Molly and watching Steven Universe, but like later, like recent Steven Universe where they've gotten kind of lazy and they're like, we're just going to have a character explain complex PTSD. Like, it's not like that kind of like, oh, like Coach McGurk's toxic, blah, blah, blah. It's like, he's kind of a fuck up. He's like a fuck up. He's not a good person. And he and Brendan are still friends. And it's not like, oh, he's a bad role. It's just like, they're just like, he's kind of a shitty dude. Yeah, they're people. It's just like a regular thing. There's regular people. Like Coach McGurk is just like kind of a lazy, shitty guy who's just soccer coach, and Brendan is just like this precocious, intellectually gifted kid, and they just like hang out and talk, and I really like that about it. Like,
oh yeah,
there was a cameo of Brendan from Home Movies in Clarence on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, no, really? I do remember that.
Hold on, like I hate to be that person. Is Clarence the show with like the shitty creator? Like
that does not slow down. It's 2020.
That's Boo Boo Runs Wild.
No. But
yeah, that is Boo Boo Runs Wild.
I remember there was some recent.
Oh, you're thinking of Loudmouth, right? Like, you're thinking of Loudmouth.
Wait, one more time.
Loudmouth, Loud House. What the fuck is that show called? There was some show called Loud
Big
House.
Mouth?
No, Loud House. The creator of that show was like a sexual predator.
Oh, party.
There was something.
He got booted off of it because he was a fucking creep.
Right. I feel like it was about Clarence, or like, yeah, there were allegations of sexual assault. The Clarence creator was fired over allegation.
Yeah.
In 2014.
Oh yeah, he was fired in 2014. I'm seeing he was fired in 2014.
Since we're opening this box, everyone knows John Kay was like a pedophile, right?
Yeah, we can all acknowledge.
Wait, who's John Kay?
The guy who made Ren and Stimpy is guy. Like a shitty dude. Like
Boo Boo
Runs Wild. The guy who made what?
Ren and Stimpy.
Ren and Stimpy and Boo Boo Runs Wild.
Really?
Yeah, he like he would get
the animator or just
the main guy, he's like the main
actually, the one who did that the adult party cartoon continuer of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, and Ren and Stimpy,
and OG Ren and Stimpy.
And he made a Bjork music video, which like the same connected back to my previous mushroom trip where I realized I appreciate home movies. I was also listening to a lot of Bjork and like decided Bjork was my messiah. But like the Bjork music video animated by John Kay came on, and I was like, because I decided like Bjork, I was like, this is like this representation of Bjork is haram. Like this is like,
here's the thing. I'm willing to like understand that any creator of anything is bad. I don't know. I've heard a lot of arguments recently. Actually, I don't know if any of y'all follow the anime YouTuber Mother's Basement.
Not at all. I did. Not even a little.
Yeah, he did a very thoughtful video maybe a year or two ago called like Why or like Bad People Making Good Art.
Mm-hmm.
And it covered the creator of Rurouni Kenshin, who is a pedophile. Which is why I still haven't watched it, and like I kind of have that thing where it's like, do I watch it because it's like one of the best, shonen battle samurai setting things that's ever existed, period. or do I not watch it? But at the same time, that punishes the animators and not necessarily just the creator. And like, he did a very thoughtful video about the whole thing.
With John K, that's an interesting intersection specifically with the animators, because his animators thing is, and it's kind of fucked up, like this was happening at Nickelodeon Studios. His like the teenage girls he was grooming were his animators. Like his animation staff were mostly teenage girls he was grooming.
Yeah,
so it's like
fucked up.
So it's like his victims, his survivors, like their creativity was going into making it. So it's like a weird
That's
gray
so
in terms
hard.
of bridging. Yeah.
And then it's like is it more of a punishment or is it not? Like where do you draw the line between creator and creation?
I personally think that it really does matter materially whether you're giving money. Like there's definitely a difference between going online or on Hulu and watching an episode of Ren and Stimpy versus like continuing to support John K's new projects or buying stuff that goes directly. Like that's where I draw my line. Like I don't really give a shit if I watch like Parks and Rec and it has like Louis C.K. in it, but like I'm not gonna pay money to like go see Louis C.K.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I kind of try and find like that happy medium where it's like, you know, how bad were this person's transgressions versus how much do I want to consume this media. I mean, like personally, I won't watch RuPaul's Drag Race because super just not a fan of that bitch. But
here's the thing. By the way, like this is a shout out for anyone that listens to this podcast. You don't have to watch RuPaul's Drag Race. You can just watch the millions of YouTubers who make amazing recap episodes like Blaze Amaze. I'm actually a patron of theirs. Their recap episodes are incredible and you should watch their shit because they just do the whole episode in like 11 minutes or less. And the editing is wonderful and it's very funny and you should watch it because like I love the whole drag queen thing, but also if you can't get enough of RuPaul, just watch Dragula because Dragula is good. And the Boulet brothers aren't pieces of shit. So
hell yeah.
Watch Dragula, basically, is what I'm saying.
Hell yeah. All right, speaking of Dragula, that actually is not a transition at all. I really fucked that up. But Madeline, what are your top 2 Adult Swim shows that are most influential or that are your favorites?
So here's like I have a very weird relationship with Adult Swim where I was hyper aware of it growing up, but I never really got into it until later. So I would say like the first influential Adult Swim thing was Robot Chicken, hands down. Yeah. It was all this nerd media put in like this farcical sketch comedy thing. And I grew up with like Monty Python and Wallace and Gromit. So sketch comedy and claymation, like so there, 1,000,000% there. And I just felt like it spoke to me. And then as I grew older and Adult Swim got like weirder and weirder and weirder, I really started to connect. And like, this is maybe like sort of off topic, but I really connected with like the infomercials and anything Alan Resnick or Wham City Comedy had to do with Adult Swim, like the Broom Shakalaka or This House Has People in It or unedited footage of a bear. Yeah. Or Live Forever As You Are Now. I think those things are such high, dark comedy art that I'm almost, you know what I am? I'm not even going to say almost. I am upset that they're not enjoyed by a wider audience because they're so weird, and I think we need more of that. And, like, I really appreciate Adult Swim being like, hey, here's some really weird shit. And I'm like, thank you. Give me more weird shit.
Did you know that unedited footage of a bear was shot in Baltimore with all Baltimore famous, like, local Baltimore legends?
Well, that's the thing. Alan Resnick, I think, and Wham City Comedy are very, like, Maryland Baltimore-centric because they did this recent book or audiobook or something. I forget. It's something about a car. I forget the title. But they mentioned 695, and I'm like, oh, yeah. I know 695.
One of the guys from Cumtown that grew up in Baltimore's in unedited footage of a bear. And, like, there's a bunch of other, like, local Baltimore celebrities, apparently, that are just, like, making, like, small cameo roles, even though, like, David Cross was apparently somehow involved in this thing.
Yo, Jack Antwerpen. Let us get Jack Antwerpen into a Wham City Comedy sketch. Because if I saw Jack Antwerpen on Adult Swim, I would be able to die. I would be able to die fulfilled.
Would you
just
put
like Alan Resnick?
Would you put too many cooks in that? Would you put too many cooks in that category as well?
Too many cooks, I think, is great.
Yeah.
I think Too Many Cooks is a similar, like, it's so weird, but it's so smart, and I just want more of it.
Too Many Cooks definitely.
I think Adult Swim is just perfect for those, like, not quite short film, but not quite 30-second sketch pieces. And, like, I just honestly, I have, like, a really huge respect for Adult Swim for just continuing to be like, you got a weird 5-6 minute short thing, cool, we'll broadcast it. Like, I'm so into that.
Yeah, I mean, Tim and Eric couldn't thrive on any other fucking channel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so much
Tim
comedy.
and Eric is, like, timeless.
Or
it's
Eric
so
Andre, or
weird,
like any
timeless.
of these fucking shows wouldn't have any life on any other channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, think about like how Eric Andre was so influenced by Space Coast Coast to Coast, and like he was just very fucking like his like fulfilling his dream by having a show on Adult Swim, and was like obsessively watching Space Coast Coast to Coast, and like he asked like Mike Lazo about it because he was just like studying Space Coast Coast to Coast to make a similar show. He asked Mike Lazo about it, and Mike Lazo was just like, "Oh, we're done with that. That show was like stupid."
So sad.
Eric Andre is a treasure, and
he really is.
Yeah, no,
I love him.
No one's made me belly laugh more than him. I think honestly.
Yeah.
Colette,
yeah.
what are your
Andre just gets on set.
Colette, what are your top two?
Do it, so I'm gonna do it.
He's a chaotic good outsider for sure. He comes from like straight from like the chaotic good plane.
Yeah.
Like
oh yeah.
He just concerns me. Like, I've never watched it and been like, oh, haha. And this time I'm just like, are you okay?
I think he's okay.
I think he's fine.
He does like transcendental meditation.
So Colette,
like,
so
does David Lynch. So
what are your two favorites, Colette?
My two favorite what?
Adult Swim shows.
Adult Swim.
Remember the premise of the episode that we're doing right now? The podcast we're on?
We
that
have
we're
a
recording?
premise? we had a premise? We were talking about something at some point?
Yeah. We were talking about like chocolate milk or like Madeline's weird Jewish
like
boyfriend or something.
Milk.
Strawberry milk, straight up.
Going off of favorites, I think my all-time is definitely China, Illinois, because it was just like that type of pure, unadulterated, concentrated, just batshit chaos.
Yeah,
that still kind of drew some type of a plot line.
I never watched that show. Is it like Super Jail adjacent at all?
No, the guy did like it's the same guy who did that. Like he had like this like audio. It's really funny. He did like like a voiceover for the first Harry Potter movie, but it was like an audio book, but it was just like just ridiculously irreverent,
like Mystery Science.
Yeah, yeah, and he also had like these like shorts. Like he had like one about George Washington, which I definitely recommend everyone Google Brad Neely George Washington and watch it. Like that's kind of how I got to start, just doing like shorts on the internet, and then.
Wait, was that the Washington?
Yeah.
6'4" way to fucking ton.
Yeah.
That was tight.
Yeah, that was the same guy. Same guy to China, Illinois.
That shit's awesome. I just want to make really cool media like that where people like bring it up.
That's what we're doing right now.
Circles. I hope so. Hi, everybody.
Wait, we're cool.
This is an
cool.
alternate reality game.
Yeah.
I think my top
Crack
two.
the code in this episode.
I think my top two are both like more on the obscure. I mean, not obscure, obviously, because they're on Adult Swim, but on the obscure side of Adult Swim. Once again, I know I bring this up a lot, but I grew up religious, and so when I was in high school, Moral Oral hit me hard.
Oral.
Like, people credit BoJack Horseman for like being like, oh, it's like funny, but then it's also like really devastating and depressing.
Moral Oral is so sad.
Moral Oral
so
is
good.
So depressing and so just devastating at some points. And having
sorry, I love Moral Oral.
Yeah,
I forgot about it.
I was gonna say
to talk about it.
Having a show as it was really good for someone like me because the show always wisely did the saying where they would mock dogmatic approaches to Christianity without mocking Christianity itself. So as like a guilt-ridden child, I could see the satire it was doing of that way of thinking without being totally put off, because it's not like some like edgy like fuck Christians, fuck Jesus kind of show.
Not,
it was
honestly.
just like isn't it interesting that this kid looks to his guardians for guidance, and they always fail him and give him bad advice. And that third season where
was always, Moral was always like a good character. Like, you never ever rooted against Oral.
No, never.
And like, Oral was just kind of like this embodiment of what like good like Christianity should be, and you really just wanted him to succeed. And then you would get like, and then like the schadenfreude of watching like his mother or his father fucking fail, or whoever in his life fail. And it was, Moral Oral was too smart to exist.
Yeah,
in a weird way.
Yeah, Dino Stamatopoulos is a bro. Most people would know him. He played Starburns in Community, but he was the guy behind that and Frankenhole. And like both of those shows were like way too smart for Adult Swim, because like they were never promoted, because like Adult Swim, they didn't fit like their trippy aesthetic at all. Like no one wants to like do shrooms and watch Moral Oral. It's just like bleak.
But Moral Oral, I think Moral Oral is probably one of the shows of Adult Swim, and I'm not saying that not all of them deserve like wider recognition, blah 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 blah. But I think Moral Oral was like the only show besides Boondocks that like had something to say and really deserved to be heard about it.
Yeah,
because I agree. It never, growing up as like a Jewish kid with like a Lutheran dad, religion wasn't really a big thing, but I was always told to like, hey, watch who you tell you're Jewish to, because blah blah blah. You have this weird idea of Christianity. And watching Oral, this really good kid who's just dedicated to like loving God and just wanting to do things the right way and getting led astray, I think was a really important thing, where it was like, hey, religion itself is not the issue. It is the people who use it for their own means. Like, that's the problem.
Well, also,
and it was just too smart to be widely recognized.
Well, I was going to say,
I think Moral Oral is one of the greatest shows ever.
The important message it gives too, that I stand by strongly, of like, it's not even just being led astray. It's that like his dad's straight abusive, and they play it for laughs in like the first 2 seasons, but they play it very seriously in like the 3rd season. And you see Oral...
Oh, it gets very dark.
But it was cool because it's the only piece of media I've ever seen where a kid is religious and gets like abused by his religious dad. And at the end of it, he doesn't reject his religion at all, but he rejects his dad. And I think that's an important message to send to people, to differentiate like your abusive religious figures from the religion itself. Like, because I think that's the reason a lot of people stay in these abusive things, is because there is a religious aspect to it. And it's just, I don't know, it really moved me, even as like a high schooler. I like kind of understood, like, this is like a show that I feel like a lot of people like at like my like Christian private school like should watch and would get a lot out of, if they were willing to like, get past the obvious, like very blunt humor in it.
I just think Moral Oral is the kind of show where it makes the people who should be watching it more uncomfortable than the people who just happen upon it. Which, is like a really good sign in that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it was never going to be like the Boondock, where it's like, more irreverent. Like, Moral Oral is pretty reverent of Christianity.
Yeah, it really is. That's what's weird about it.
Like, I think there was the episode where Oral, what was it, like a Protestant family moved in across the street.
Yeah.
And, like, everything was fine, and they said grace. And, like, growing up as a Jewish kid, I'm, like, watching this episode, hearing them say the differences in the grace, and I'm like, oh, I bet people just say grace differently, and then realizing it's, like, a whole thing, and being like,
wait, were
Jesus, both of your guys?
As a kid, did you ever watch the episodes? They had like a subplot throughout the show where there was a Jews for Jesus family. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do not remember any episodes with the Jewish family. The episodes I remember are like more like Oral and the Protestant girl, and like I shipped them so hard. I was just like, I just want you guys to hold hands and be happy. And
Oral is Catholic?
The priest. Yeah, Catholic or Christian. One of the two. I'm sorry if I'm not differentiating.
Yeah, Nevin, the whole dynamic in that episode is that they each member says the Lord's Prayer the different way, and then the two families have like a Capulet, like Romeo and Juliet type feud. about it.
So is it like different weird sects of Protestantism like feuding with each other?
Yeah. But that's like only one, or it's only like a 4 episode.
It's like a short thing. I do remember though the episodes about the preacher wanting to like get laid and then like finding an alternative girl, and the alternative girl ends up to be his like daughter, and she's like, "Hey, Dad," and he's like, this is weird."
Yeah.
And, like, just thinking like Moral Oral always presented the people that like, you know, these like zealots, these crazy Tea Party people would always portray as like bad people as being like really invested in Oral like being okay.
Yeah.
And just kind of saying like, hey, you know, the spirit of this religion is in everyone who wants to do right by you, but you need to like be able to question people who use scripture to do something that might not be right for you. And I just thought that was so interesting. And like, Moral Oral is really good, and it is so good, and it should be way more seen than it currently is. It just deserves more. Moral Oral deserves more.
For listeners who want to know where to start, highlight episodes are the season 2-parter episode where Oral loses faith in his dad, the hunting trip episodes, and there's a prequel that was made in like 2013 called Before Oral, where Oral spends time with his like atheist grandfather, and they learn about certain stuff, and it's one of the most beautiful pieces of animation I've ever seen. So those are some starting places.
I have to watch that.
Yeah, I'll send you guys some of my favorite episodes, because I've seen that show, the run of it. I mean, the season 3, it does this whole like Memento anachronistic. Every episode is all taking place at the same time period, but from different characters' perspectives type thing. It's super worth a watch through. It gets like heavily serialized in a way no one saw coming. I will say quickly, my other show, and we'll probably have less to say about this, but Xavier Renegade Angel is the most creative freedom, chaotic, writer's room bullshit TV show ever, and I'm obsessed with it.
That show made me weirdly uncomfortable.
Yeah,
me too.
I don't know that show at all, honestly.
It's
that was the Archer guys, right? The C Lab 2021 Archer, that was like one of their shows.
No, it's by the Vern Chapman. He's like a writer for South Park, and he did Wonder Chosen.
I like Wonder Chosen.
Yeah, it's Xavier's this crazy. All the animation is done like a Sims, PlayStation 1 Sims style. Like it's the ugliest fucking thing to look at. And it's just about this weird creature that's like furry and has like a snake for a hand, and he kind of like wanders through the desert in like a parody of like 70s kung fu, trying to help people with like philosophical quandaries, and ends up making it way worse. And it's like very aggressively offensive, but like in a weirdly woke way. Like it was making jokes that like we're making now. Like I remember like specifically there's like one episode where like it's like very anti-cop, for example. Like it's very like smash the imperialist pigs, fuck cops. Like I remember one episode where like they're all like there's like panic, and one creature comes in and like blows suit on a bunch of characters, and then they're all covered in like black, and then a bunch of cops just start beating the shit out of them randomly. And like this was like in like the early 2000s, so like it was like a lot more aggressively like interesting than stuff at that period.
A lot of Adult Swim shows had that like they were like ahead of their times and that sort of social commentary, but like we're doing it in a clumsy way.
Yeah, and it's like one of those shows that like anything's on topic, like necrophilia and like pedophilia and incest and fucked up shit, but it's not but it somehow doesn't feel like one of those like shock jock, we're laughing at all of this. It's like very much making fun of like anyone who's like enlightened and like thinks they can come into any situation. It's a weird show, but I'd recommend it to anyone who's, you know, kind of in for that heavy puns, 20 jokes per second. I feel like I've been watching this for an hour, but it's only been 11 minutes. It feels like an assault. It feels like you're being assaulted by comedy while you watch it.
Yeah, drop that link in the chat because I am 100% about that. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Honestly, that kind of sounds like an RPG Maker game in a weird way. I don't know why that comes off to me that way, but I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like Space Funeral or Yume Nikki. Sorry. I don't know. It sounds like so abstract, but like very grounded in like ideas.
Yeah, there's like philosophical through lines. I just dropped you guys on Discord the episode where it's about religion and about a gorilla that can sign language sermons and a lot of other things. So,
do you think that this quarantine will lead to a blossoming of RPG Maker games?
I hope so.
So I want to say, does anyone want to promote anything?
Actually, I do. I have something to promote.
Yeah, what's up?
I'm doing a live stream where I'm going to play all 3 Donkey Kong Country games in a row. It's an endurance test, and it's a charity live stream for Harrisonburg, Virginia, the little college town where I live in, has a very large culinary district. It's a very large segment, very large chunk of the economy, and it's all been shut down because of COVID-19, and a bunch of people are out of work, and unemployment, the Virginia Unemployment Commission's backlogged. All the national restaurant worker relief funds are backlogged. So I'm going to be trying to raise money for some of my fellow restaurant workers in Harrisonburg who some of them are vulnerable and need some funds. And I don't have all the details worked out, but there will be a link that I will give Caleb that will be in the description of this video.
Yep.
And that's on the 26th to the 29th. I will be, hopefully that'll give me enough time to play all 3 of those games and watch it and donate money and help out some laid off restaurant work.
Hell yeah. What about you, Madeline?
I mean, that's awesome, and you should totally go do that. If you're a person in America who doesn't have to like go to work, because like I get if you do, if you don't, stay the fuck away from people, please. And wash your goddamn hands. Like, just please, like, seriously, it's serious enough where you need to be concerned. It's not serious enough where you need to, like, start panicking. Also, if your store has toilet paper, don't fucking buy all of it. Like, I promise, you don't need all of it. It's okay. Bounty Selecticize exists, and you will be fine. But, like, let's not hoard buy, motherfuckers. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Hypest Princess, HYPEST Princess.
Links will be below.
Yeah, links will be below, and just in general, be a good person during this time. And I bought Animal Crossing on the Switch store, even though I had pre-ordered it, because I'm not going to GameStop to shit on those poor employees that like still have to go to work. So I just want y'all to know, I spent an extra however many dollars buying it digitally because GameStop is being a piece of shit. So just be nice to people, please. During this time, wear a scarf if you go out, god damn it. I know you gotta go to the grocery store. Wear a fucking scarf. Please.
Cotton handkerchief blocks better than nothing. Blocks 28% of respiratory droplets.
Oh yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Colette?
Follow me on Instagram still. It's exactly 5 eels. The word exactly, the number 5, and then eels.
Exactly.
My titties are out on there. Go stare at my titty meat.
I just followed.
Before they get taken down.
I just followed, and I gotta say,
before they get taken down.
I just followed recently. I gotta say, she delivers on the titty meat. It's great titty meat. It's some of the best titty meat I've seen.
Thank you.
This side of the East Coast.
Also soon to be on OnlyFans under the Twitter handle. Hold on. At Rosen_Quartz.
Okay, if you do well on OnlyFans, like let me know because I might be trying to do well on OnlyFans. But
I already told you I'm totally bringing you on as my media manager and giving you a 60% cut. So.
What's up? I'm Colette's media manager on OnlyFans. You want a flood pick? You better give me $15 to get in. I'll do it. Stand there.
I'll patron you guys, but I'll say OnlyFans has been disappointing because I've gone on there and it's like almost zero fans. There's no ceiling fans. There's no sports enthusiasts. There's no box
fans,
that,
thank you so much for listening to Zoomy Kathys.
Yeah, we're getting into dad pun mode. That probably means it's time to wrap this shit up.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Wrap it up like you do on OnlyFans. And by the way, if you're on OnlyFans and your username isn't Home Depot, you have missed out on a great opportunity. Home Depot. That's a RuPaul joke. Kill me right now. Hang me from the rafters. Please, God.
Home Depot.
That's my drag name, except not. I am ready to die. Thanks, Caleb, for hosting this podcast.